Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at the Fantagraphics release Return to Eden by Paco Roca. Paco's one of my favorite artists that I found in the last couple of years of doing the Fantabucks sale from Fantagraphics. I'll just pre-order everything I want from them for the whole year, and then I'm digging into their back catalog with like the credits I get, because then you're basically getting free books. Really enjoyed all of Paco Roca's stuff, and I think now with this, I have all of the stuff that they put out. There was one that was just like a auto diary comic that I didn't really like, but I've enjoyed everything else quite a bit. This is a second one in this wide format. There's another one called, I think, The House is what it was, but this one is autobiographical in a strange way. It's more of an autobiography of Paco Roca's, I think, grandmother or great grandmother. So it's a family biography in a sense, and has a lot of really interesting stuff in it formally. Paco Roca is usually a pretty tame cartoonist, but there's a really cool thing in here. So I'm going to show the whole opening sequence of this book because it matters. It's really interesting to get a book where you don't have any of the indicia or copyright material or any of that kind of stuff up front. You just jump into like this black void. For many pages, you have like the kind of the end papers of the same black color, and it just comes along like this. And then you get the dialogue showing up. How long was it that Antonina did not exist? Aeons of non-existence. And so you have this like little talk here about like reality coming together. Viewed in terms of the vastness of the cosmos, Antonina's life was the briefest flash of time. So you have this one little like nothing dot there. And then Paco starts talking about like how all these things add up to make like a flow of history. So really interesting graphics there. And then you zoom in on those and you get the entirety of the comic displayed all at once, which is really, really cool comics because, and I've seen other people do this, like Alan Moore and J.H. Williams did something similar in Promethea. But since comics, part of what's so cool about them is that time exists all at once on the paper, all at once in the book. This is a way of showing it as like, look, this story does have an overhead view of things almost, and then we're going to zoom in just to the beginning of it. So maybe this was released as a web comic first, I'm not sure, but it kind of has that feel of like this is all just one thing we can scroll through, and you get the beginning and the ending of the book here, and towards the ending of the book you see like this is flying off and like how these things can impact across time. And then you come to, okay, and then there was light, and you get this. But you also have like the other side of the scene of this photograph that's the kind of main driver of the plot in the book, is the photograph that's taken in this moment. So really, really cool opening sequence there that's introducing you to Antonia, who is, like I said, I believe it was Paco's grandmother, maybe great grandmother. He's basically telling the story of her through some photographs that he found. So there's 3 photographs that Antonia kept with her as she stayed older. This one is a photo of her and her sister Vincentia and Vincentia's future husband there. So digging into the family history, that's what this book is. We also meet Antonia as an older woman here. So you see she's packing up to go to the nursing home, and she's really obsessed with this photo, the photo that was taken here. This is the one that she really wants to find. So the rest of the book is basically driven by what is it about this photo that was so special to her. And in doing so, in unpacking these characters in this photo, who they were in her life, you get kind of the biography of Antonia. And basically this is about her being raised in Spain. This photo is taking place in late summer 1946, so right after the end of World War II, and coming into the reign of the Franco government in Spain. That also showed up in the other Paco Roca book I got in this batch, the Twists of Fate book, which is about a soldier going through World War II. So this is kind of a good sequel to that book in a sense, even though it takes, and Paco's related to both, like in the Twists of Fate, he's interviewing the guy, so he knows him personally, and in this, it's actually a blood relative of his. I said in the Twists of Fate review that one of the things I really like about Paco Roca is he's such like an intensely Spanish comics author, where everything he does is about Spain, the history of Spain. There's the other one, the one about the treasure ship where they're trying to get the lost treasure back to Spain. So he's very good at connecting like political systemic kind of information against how that impacts personal lives, and it's all very steeped in the history of Spain. And so it makes for a, I think, a good like life project, a body of work over the course of life that has a real theme that the artist is exploring. Now, in terms of Paco Roca's art, like this page is a good example of how not bombastic most of his work is versus like this opening scene being so formally playful. The majority of his work is very like stage set, and this is throughout all of his books, but he's such a clean, crisp cartoonist. The beautiful drawing all throughout, the like rhythms that he creates, the clarity of action, that it really, really works. He has this very straightforward style that conveys exactly the type of information that he wants to convey. Throughout the book, we get introduced to the other siblings in the photograph. So then we get the eldest brother, Paco, and he was about to get married in the photograph, so we learn a little bit about him. Then we learn about Pepito, the baby of the family, and each one of them gets their own little section. Then you learn quite a bit about Antonina's mother, Carmen. So I believe that this would be Paco Roca's great-grandmother here. There's also a number of pretty interesting sequences, again, with Paco Roca stepping out of his normal, like, static stage play, where the religious aspects of these characters' upbringings come into play. So here we have this real Garden of Eden sequence with the much more montage style. There's actually like some hatching and cross hatching in here. You got the unitone, like second color, really interesting kind of little flourishes within what Roca normally does as he starts talking about General Franco and the war and the impact on the post-war Spain. You also got this really interesting like little deviation from his normal artistic behavior, where you've got a scanned in coin collaged on to the drawn image. So it's really fun to see someone who has a pretty, what I would say, like static, unplayful style, you know, very functional, like I shouldn't say functional cartooning, like masterful functional cartooning, combined with some of these more experimental things, is really interesting. And you just get to meet some other interesting characters. Like here's Captain Don Milan, someone who was kind of a risk taker that was they saw perform at some point. And then you learn about Amparin, I believe is how you'd say it, is Antonina's favorite sibling. And through each of these interactions with the sibling, you're just learning more and more about the family history as well as the political situation that they grew up in. And that's the other thing that I really appreciate about Roca's work, is the sense of time and place. Everything's always researched and very solid. Like his Winter of the Cartoonist was about Spanish cartoonists and a very well-researched historical kind of settings in that. That's just another one of the things that Roca brings to his work that I love about it so much, is that tangible sense of place and just the obvious love for the culture that he grew up in. As I'm reading more and more of his works, it just, like, I feel like I need to go back and reread them all, and probably even that autobio one that I didn't like. You know, seeing that as part of a larger artistic statement that's chopped up into many smaller, seemingly disconnected things is really interesting. So I think Paco Roca is someone that, as this library of his work that Fantagraphics is putting out continues to grow, I'll get a really even clearer sense of an artist. But I think with these last two books, this idea of him being a very devoutly Spanish comic artist is becoming much more clear to me, and I really like that. So if you have not checked out Paco Roca's work, I would absolutely recommend pretty much everything he's done, and this is a very good starting point book, I would think.